Just a quick update. Frame's all tore down. Everything's welded solid. Axles are removed. There's the rear. There's the front. It's all sandblasted. Went over everything again with the flap wheel. Got it all smooth. Guy did a real good job sandblasting. You can see it's just right ready to accept paint. Really happy with it. So I'm gonna put, I don't know how many coats of each yet, but I'm gonna put an epoxy primer on it. And then this other product that's similar to 415, the top coat. So got it suspended on barrels here. Should hold it up pretty good. Front axle barely off the ground. Want to snap that limb, but that should be enough to get a good coat of paint on it. Got some old tires on the rear axle there, but I think we're in pretty good shape here. Let me get a time lapse of the painting process, I think. But let's have a look at the paint. Have a lot done since last time. It's actually been a few months since, well, I guess probably a month since I've worked on it. Just getting busy with other jobs and things like that. So finally got all the parts rounded up. The air management, got the bars all powder coated. They did a beautiful job on them. Really happy with it. We did a sour apple, basically. It's supposed to be a color match of the Dodge Viper green. With powder, it's hard to replicate because this is like a candy color. You got a chrome underneath it, and then the sour apple on top. So, you know, depending on which way you look at it, it shimmers differently in the light. Looks darker, looks lighter, just depending on what angle you're at. So it is a really cool color. I'm pumped. Glad it turned out like that. So yeah, we put everything, all the links together. We started with the back axle, got it aligned. Had some trouble with that. I was trying to go off the tires with a straight edge, you know, on a smooth part of it. Trying to use lasers and things like that, and I don't know, we just got too technical for our own good, I think. So we scribed a mark right in the center. This is the center of the frame. Dropped the line straight to the ground, made a mark, and then we measured off the bottom bolt on either side. Those bolts are in the exact same spot on both sides. That was a big priority when I fabricated those mounts. So rather than try to go, you know, find the same spot somewhere else, it's like you're really hard pressed to find a good spot. So went off the bolt, formed a triangle, and then tried to get them the same. Hopefully we don't run into any issues with centering the tire. That's kind of the next issue I hope we don't have when we set the bed on it. Just making sure that the tire is centered in the well. We'll find out. That's why I'm doing this now, though, not finishing the body first, because I can always widen wheel wells and all that. So yeah, we got it aligned side to side perfectly at ride height is the idea. So it'll come off center as it goes up and down, but such is life with the track bar. It's not very much at all, but it's definitely a factor. We got the air filter plumbed in here. It's not the greatest thing. Just decided to hide it in there. It's kind of protected that way. So it comes in on the blue line, goes into this large piece, which is just a check valve I actually got off Amazon. It's stainless steel. I think it was $35. So I was, thought I was paying for something good, pulled it out, and it just seemed cheap. But it's doing its job because I got air in this side, and that end of the hose is up there, and there's nothing coming out. So I guess it works. So yeah, so we got the T sitting here. This is going to be the pressure sensor for the air compressor to tell it when to turn on and off. So then we run out with 1/2-inch line. I wanted lots of flow, so there was, no restrictions that way. That runs back to the air tank in that side, and then that's the feed coming out the opposite. And that runs with all the wiring harnesses and fuel lines. Don't mind the dog's breakfast right now. We got to clean this all up once we get the cab on. And then there's the, as they call it, the workhorse. It is quite the valve, very impressive. Looks like a solid block they machine out. So yeah, it was a lot of debate on where to put the valve. I didn't want it inside. I don't want to hear that clicking away. So they say you can put it anywhere in you can get dirt on it, you can get water. It's completely weatherproof. So I kind of chose to put it there. It's on the opposite side of the exhaust. And I didn't want to put it all the way at the back because I figured the front here is going to need, more air, right? Because it's got to lift that motor every single time it goes up and down. The back, it's going to lift fast no matter what. It's just always going to be light. And I mean, if you put a trailer on, and it airs up slow, who cares? It's just the daily drivability aspect. I wanted the air to have a short route, because that's just 3/8 going to the bags. I ran half into the valve to feed it, so that's just a short spurt off to the front. So it does go up and down fast. I'm happy with that. I used all of couplers for the most part. I kind of like them. They're a little more permanent. I've seen push connects leak. You can see the solenoid over here. I got a pack brake. So that's a butterfly valve exhaust brake that goes on the back side of the turbo. Really looking forward to using that. That should be a nice addition to helping this thing slow down these monster tires here. I took it apart, broke the clamp, so I'm waiting on parts for that. You pay all this money for this kit, they don't even give you clamps. I don't know why they do that. Most times you take apart an exhaust clamp and it's cooked, so. But yeah, there's the brake. Real heavy spring in it. You can barely operate that butterfly valve with your hand. Very heavy. So hopefully that works well. Still got to figure out the wiring. This harness and everything has to go into the ECU. Looks like a bit of a chore. Got to pull out those little plugs. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, those little red plugs. And then stick the wire in the appropriate location. The front was tricky. We aligned it with space forward, because I was trying to get the tire away from the fender, even though I don't even know where the fender is going to sit quite yet. But, the farther it is forward, I figured, the more, the lower the height you're going to be able to steer at. That was kind of my logic and theory. So, ended up pulling it back though, because once I got my sway bar on and my links, those links are far from stock. Same with their caster elimination bolts, or washers, I should say. When you're going to use a Heim joint, you don't want the oval shaped groove in that one. So yeah, once I got this on, I realized that it was going to be jamming right into the bag. So pulled the whole axle back, and that was good, except for the fact that it gets awful, this drop bracket and that bolt in particular gets awful close to this tie rod. So I ended up grinding that down for now. I don't know if that's going to be the permanent fix or not, but other than that, it goes up and down great. Again, really close clearances with these guys. It's just the way it is. You're trying to fit so many moving parts into one small area. These front bags, I'm really happy with how well and centered they are now. You can see there's not a pile of room beside them, but they don't, the bags don't get wider. That's why they're called a rolling lobe, right? Because they under compression, it rolls up and down the pedestal rather than expand. It'll expand a little bit, but not half of an inch or anything like that. So yeah, I'm just getting ready to bring the cab in. Get that ready. Oh, I guess I didn't talk about height sensors. That was a bit of a task. So there's the front height sensor. This is how they want you to do it. They want you to put this stud on here and thread it in, a nut in from the backside. So I ended up drilling a hole in the backside as an access, and I'm gonna have to fill that with silicone later so it doesn't rust, but definitely very solid. I put nut certs into the frame for these guys. That's I think by far the best way of doing this. And then I gotta still fiddle around with the calibration, go back and forth, and because they got little slots in here so you can adjust that so you're in the mid of the range. The back I had, it was a little trickier because we landed dead on top of the bar. So I'm probably gonna beef up some zip ties and just leave it with zip ties, as crazy as that sounds. But I can't think of a better way of doing it. You think about it, the stuff's all plastic anyway, so if I put 3 zip ties and crisscross them around that might be what ends up happening. I don't know, we'll see. What else do we got going on here? Still waiting on CU Off-Road for my pulley for this guy, the alternator. So hopefully that comes in shortly. Other than that, all my bolts I'm gonna pull out and put in hopefully a flanged bolt and nut, grade 8 fine thread. I always kind of like them for suspension parts, just they cinch up real tight, and the flange just looks prettier than throwing washers and all that at it. So do that shortly. And yeah, get all this wiring harness run, and will be a lot more wires once I set the cab on here and kind of get all this straightened out. That's the wiring whip that they give you to go to the actual controller. So your controller, I believe, is also waterproof, but it's so pretty that I can't put it underneath the truck. It's a really nice piece that they made, and I don't really want rocks and all that tossed at it. So I guess I'm just gonna have to lengthen this harness and probably set the thing right underneath my seat anyway, because it's got a light on it. So that may actually be a good spot for it. Real close. Yeah, good times. Good times. Still got to figure out this exhaust. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. Yeah, I'm going to go grab the cab now and wheel this thing out now. For the first time on these tires, I guess. Going to be a bear to turn those front steer tires, boy. Roll that out, bring the cab in, get it on the lift, and then roll the truck back in. Slowly set it down. Gotta order brake lines and all that stuff. I want all that new, so I'm not dealing with rusty brake lines. All right, until next time.